tell the audience about how you got started in real estate. All right, we're back with Steve Maddox, and this time we're joined by none other than Marc Bingham. So, Marc, welcome to the show. Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Marc, I want to talk a little bit about kind of your background growing up all the way, back from the Jaycees days to kind of where you are today. And Steve will kind of guide us along that way. You guys have a very extensive past together. So, how did you get the idea to start Phone Directory Services?
Can we back up even a little more?
Yeah, of course.
Marc did not know he was coming here today to do this. He asked me where we were eating and what the name of this restaurant was. So he's he's here under duress. And this is cold. And I have known Marc the better part of my professional life. And there are individuals that are influencers that want to brag about what they are going to become or what they have done. Marc is a gangster. He is a baller. He is a generational baller that doesn't brag. He's in cowboy boots, jeans, and a shirt, and yet is probably the wealthiest individual that I know on earth. And when I met Marc the first time, I thought that I was dealing with an individual that was nice, polite, and kind, and did not know the magnitude of the talent and the raw talent that he has and the self-taught talent that he has and his background. So with that, realize as he talks today, you're talking with a seasoned veteran of somebody that not only talks about it, but is there. And I remember Marc at one point in life said one of the greatest challenges he has is there is nothing on earth he can't buy. And he didn't mean it braggadociously. He just said that is a very weird, strange place to be in life when you come from that. And I said, what do you mean that? And we shared some tender moments about not having in life that have led to where he's at today. So Marc was not born with a silver spoon. Marc was not born with parents that said, here's your Ivy League scholarship. And Marc was not born into an environment that should have allowed him to climb to the elevation that he currently flies at. So I think there's this thought of Marc is like others in the United States that have just had it handed to him. Marc has forged his way on his own. So my respect to Marc will always be there. The reason I want the podcast is I want to remember Marc when I'm 150 and Marc is 152, and we're able to just reflect because we now have gone from a point where we're talking about what we're going to do to reminiscing and sharing moments together. And holidays don't go by where we don't communicate. And I've told individuals this, but Marc will always be a dad to me and a father. So there's never been this competitive nature with Marc. There's always been revered skills and talents that Marc has helped me learn and understand about life, that it isn't all about the dollar. So I'm interested to hear what Marc has to say today, because I've never, I will never feel like I've had enough of Marc.
That was a fantastic introduction.
Well, thanks, Steve. Let me go back a little bit further in my life. I was actually reared in Vernal, Utah. I was born in 1940, back in just before the United States started the war with Japan and the World War II. Anyway, during that period of time, we were just kind of poor people. My parents had come through the Depression, and worked that way, and we didn't realize we was poor. All the whole neighborhood, in fact, the whole community was basically that way, And so then, just before that, I was raised on a farm, and I got burnt when I was a young boy, when I was 4 years of age, and I kind of took the family off the farm. They flew me to in a fast car. It was actually a Cadillac back then, that time out of Roosevelt, Utah. They had a doctor came through that was during that time during the middle of the war, and I'd got burnt, and I'd went to a horse doctor there in Roosevelt, and anyway we stopped at the service station, and it happened to be this doctor was passing through from Ogden to Denver, Colorado. And he said, I heard this boy got burned. Let me take a look at him. He looked at him. He said, if you don't get him to the burn center in Ogden, you'll lose him. And so I was in the hospital there in Ogden, Utah for about 3.5, 4 months, doing skin grafts and like that. And, during that age, the only thing I knew how to put out fire was water. And so I ran for the irrigation ditch where Mom always got a bucket of water, and we put it on the stove, and we drank for that bucket of water and everything else, and bathed in the water once a week like everybody else did back there. The outhouse was back there with the Montgomery Word catalog. So anyway, during that period of time, my dad had got called up to go into the war, and anyway, the war ended shortly after that, and so he came back there, and we're still on the farm at that time, and my younger brother was born just shortly before I went to the hospital. And so then, as the war came out, then the United States started doing great things, and so my family, then we moved to Oakland, California, and my dad worked with one of the other guys there doing construction work, building homes and stuff. Anyway, was there for about 2 years, and then we came back, got homesick for Vernal, Utah, and moved back from California to Utah. I remember during that period of time that we had an old car there, and we had chickens on the back of it as we were going to California. We had chickens in the backyard like a lot of the people did back that period of time. But anyway, we came back to Vernal, Utah, and that's where I actually started the second grade. So I actually started a kindergarten or a preschool there in California. So anyway, I got back there in Utah. And as I grew up during that period of time, it took a long time for my leg to heal. But my personality is I'm kind of an instigator type guy, and I like to get people in trouble for themselves, and I enjoy the consequences of watching them get beat or whatever by the parents or the school teachers. I remember one time in high school or in grade school, and the teacher walked out of the room, and I got up, made a few motions, and all the kids laughed. This other kid was named Jack O'Connor, and he thought that was funny, so he got up and did about the same time, about that same thing, and that same time the teacher walked back in. Of course, he got the yardstick, so I knew that sometimes you had to be quick to do things, and you had to be careful when you get out. Anyway, I did grade school there, and got into high school, and during high school period of time, there was a bunch of elementary schools that came together. There's like 5 different elementary schools that came together. And during that period of time, as I started in the 9th grade, there was a pecking order. And I remember going home most of the time with my shirt turned over. There was 2 of us who come from the one school there that was kind of the ringleaders in school. And mother always wanted to wonder how come my shirt was tore and everything else, because I was in these kind of fights, and pretty soon the pecking order got established. But as I got into the 10th grade, then we started getting into athletics, and I became very, very proficient in athletics. And during that period of time, as I grew up in high school, all my classmates would like to go into the Saturday night dances by the time they're junior and senior in high school. And I kept saying, hey, I know fishing areas at the High Uintas, because I would go to the High Uintas. I'd get my dad's truck and sneak into High Uintas. Didn't have a driver's license until I got 17 at that point in time. But anyway, I'd go there, and I'd walk across the High Uintas and everything like that. So I did a lot of fishing. And I thought, man, this would be a great profession to go into. So being a jock in high school, I was a quarterback of the high school team. I played basketball. I was on the 5th number starters all the time, that period of time. And one thing about it, I was very, very fast, and in fact, I always wanted on the football team, I always wanted to be an end. I thought it'd be great because I could catch the football in the end zone. I was fast enough. I had great hands and everything like that. But the doggone quarterback could never call the thing. I said, somebody's got to be a quarterback. Somebody's got to do the thinking. And so that's why I got into started taking my leadership ability, During that period of time, I had a girlfriend, and we became sweethearts, and when and I got a college scholarship then to Utah State University on a track scholarship. And so I spent 4 years in college, but during that period of time, because I've been a jock, I knew how to go to get the good grades in high school. So I got a 3.5 in high school. I was real good, I think. So college could be about the same. So my first quarter in college, I thought, man, I just get to get through this college breeze. And so I took 21 academic hours. And I'm doing wind sprints in college for that. And that's the last thing you want to do is study. And so I come back to my room and take a nap or something like that, get my breath and everything. Next day there's a test or something. So I got out of my first semester there at Utah State at a 167. Holy smoke! So I cut back my academic hours to 12, and I got up to 172 the next quarter. So I said, I got to drop this scholarship. I'm a number one child in the family, and I got younger brothers and sisters sitting behind me, and so I really started hitting the books at that point in time. So I did pretty good. I got married when I was a junior, and we had our first child 9 months later. They always say the first child can come anytime, the second child...
Mark, there's rumor it wasn't quite 9 months. Was it 6 months?
Well, they say the first one can come anytime, but the second one, it takes 9 months. Okay.
Okay.
And it happened to be 9 months, so I went through that situation and had a child. And during that period of time, I thought, well, I just got to quit 1 quarter. And I got to go to Alaska because I wanted to go back there where they catch all these big fish and all these animals and stuff. And my major was wildlife management. And so I quit 1 quarter, went home, got a roustabout position working on the oil field, making a ton of money at $1.75 an hour because most of the hours we'd have 40 hours in by Tuesday or Wednesday. And we did a lot of tying these oil wells in with gas that period of time. And we'd have to stay out there, make sure that the gas, as they hit these oil wells, that the flames stayed lit. So I had to stay there a time. And so for that, I got time and then time and a half. So I made a lot of money that. Anyway, we went back to school, the wife and I. And so now I get close to graduation, And so that last year when we had our first child there, I took an ornithology class, and I also had signed up for a correspondence class because I wanted to graduate the same time as my other peers that grew out. And so during that period of time, we had, we called the birds and the bees. We had our first child that period of time. So anyway, during that period of time, I had 21 academic hours so I could graduate in 3 years and two quarters to graduate with 171 hours. So I graduated in that period of time with that. And I happened to make the dean list. I got the 3-point, But here's what I know about college or numbers and stuff. And I'm not much of a guy at numbers, but you can get 1,000 D's or get 1,000 C's and 1 D, and you still got a 19999. It goes out there. Back in that area, its numbers just don't lie. Anyway, got out. And my first job I got was trapping coyotes for the government in Arizona. So I went down and I was a government trapper. I did really good back there, but I'd taken a test before I'd left with the Idaho Fish and Game Department. And my thing was that I loved law enforcement because when I was in the high school and stuff, I'd go back there. There's always the game warden was back there. He always had a big black Labrador, and I thought, man, this is an ideal profession for me. And anyway, so after about 6-8 months working the Fish and Wildlife Service in Arizona, Idaho Fish and Game called me and said, hey, we got a position for you. So I quit the government and went and worked the Idaho State Fish and Game. And I spent, that was back in 1964, and I worked for them for about 3 years. I started out in Burley, Idaho, and eventually they sent me into Cascade, Idaho, and that's where I had all the backcountry, Salmon River, and it's a lonely situation because the game wardens work when everybody else is out hunting and fishing, which is weekends, and so you're expected to be out there. So by then I've had my second child. So I spent that period of time, but in Cascade, Idaho, the winter starts in 1st of November and ends the end of May. And so back in that period of time, we didn't have snow machines or anything like that. So I'd go down to Boise every once in a while, but there's a lot of times I'd have to walk to the town to get groceries and stuff like that. So I knew that being a type A, I could not stay in that area another year. So I quit the fishing game, then went back to Fish and Wildlife Service in Wyoming. And that's where I learned how to fly. I started flying as a gunner in a Super Cub, shooting coyotes at the back of a Super Club. And did that for about 9-10 months. And the Bureau of Land Management started their wildlife program. And I became the wildlife specialist, and I applied for the federal government at that point in time. And they sent me to Price, Utah, and I was there. So during the time I'm in Price, Utah, this is where I had to really change a life and my situation in my life at that point in time. I met one of my lesser classmates. I say lesser classmate. He wasn't high on the pecking order, but he was down in the lower echelons. Good kid and everything like that. But all of a sudden I went to a Jaycee meeting, and they said, well, why don't you get up and do a speak up, Jaycee? And so they all did around the group. This kid got up and he did an excellent thing, and he was leading the meetings and everything else. And I thought, man, my life is, this kid has passed me in life. So I got to make a change, And at that time, I'm making $9,500 a year for the BLM at that point in time. And so I joined the Jaycees. And during that time, Jaycees is leadership training through community development. And that's where really I started changing my life. I started learning the leadership team's rules that makes a person to become a great leader. And I spent that period of time. So the young Jaycees at that time, they let you come in at 21, and then he kicked you out at 35. So I'm getting close to 35 years of age at this point in my life. And so that point in time in life, but during one of the times as the president of Price Jaycees, I made $150,000 for the Jaycee chapter doing various ways and means projects. And I thought, man, I can do that for myself. And so that's when I quit the Jaycees, and because I got kicked out of the Jaycee, but I quit the government and started a company. Started building a house at the same time, my family. I had a farm, and young, full of energy and everything else. And about 6 months later, I wonder, why did they make this mistake? But then I got it from my Jaycee Junior, or the Chamber of Commerce, that said, I will be a millionaire in 5 years. And they all laughed at me. And so anyway, I'd met one fellow that worked for Mountain Bill at that time. He was selling Yellow Pages, and he talked about doing phone books and stuff. And once he told me the concept about phone books and stuff, and I'd sold enough programs for the Jaycees at that time for the Miss Carmen Poundley pageant and stuff like that. I knew how to get money from people, and so I became a salesperson.
So what was you said you started a business. Was that the Yellow Pages, or did you start something before that?
No, that was the first thing I started. I started a little collection agency first for a bank while I was still with the government. But I had to be careful because they call it conflict of interest. And they started putting a little bit of more pressure on me at that point in time. And being a collection agency, it was easier for me to sneak in the back room and get that television set, encounter that person in the front door, hearing the same story over and over, how life wasn't fair for them. And they didn't know how to manage life for themselves. And so I'd get it and turn it back to the agency. And you always had to learn how to be a thief at point in time. It was a collection agency. So anyway, the fishing, when I got into the Yellow Pages, the company was called Directories Company. And I started out with a partnership at that point in time. And pretty soon that didn't work. And then I started on my own, broke away and started on my own. And I did the phone directories for 37 years.
So we kind of skipped 37 years right there.
I did.
How?
And here's what you're going to find about me. My brain works different from everybody. In college, one of the classes I took was called Applied Statistics. Statistics does not lie. And I'll apply statistics on almost everything I do in life. And people laugh at me at times, but statistics doesn't lie. And I can give you so many instances why that's so true. And anyway, so the Yellow Pages, it took me a while to learn how to do it. I was the first one in the Yellow Page independent area that tied a computer to with doing the code. They call it desktop publishing. And at one time, I had the fastest computer in the state of Utah, called the Apps 5, faster than the Salt Lake Tribunes and everything else, because when we had to grind out white pages, you just had to have that grinding out white pages and stuff. But back then, the computers used to take up a room 10 times bigger than this, had to keep it air conditioned and everything like that. So I got to do that. But then I started training salespeople, and that's where I became good. And think about business. It took me a long time. That's why it took 37 years. If I could go back and do it again, I could do it in 5 years, because I know how to set it up. Because sometimes in life you don't know what you don't know, and you have to. Sometimes the only way you learn that is through trial and error. Here's one thing I know: you'll make more decisions for doing things wrong, and learn from them than you'll ever do from all the things you do right.
Mark, talk about the size of the company that you amassed, though. In those 37 years, you went from shooting coyotes out of the back of a plane to one of the largest sold companies. And tell us about that, the size of the company, the size of the acquisition, and how you exited from Directories to begin a new chapter in your life.
Well, one thing about it, when I started out, I was in Price, Utah. We went to Grand Junction, and that's where I met a little fellow over there that had a little Mesa County newspaper, and he'd put it out weekly. And so he got to me together how to do set type and all that type of stuff, learn the production end of it, the back room. So we just, there for a while, we worked out of a small office there. I used to work up in the top of a bakery, and it was a small room. It just had a card table in the middle of that room, and there was a light that came down off the ceiling. I slept in that room. I'd get up real early. They start making donuts at 3:30 and 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'd roll my sleeping bag up and put it up the stairs, and I'd start figuring out who I'm going to try to get a salesman at that point in time. And I remember one guy came in one time, and he bounced up the stairs above the bakery where I'm at, and he looked in the door and said, "Talk about a fly-by-night situation." Here I'm sitting there, and I'm trying to, let me tell you how to make a lot of money. Yellow Pages in the phone company was the most profitable thing they had. The phone companies made 86% profit from Yellow Pages. When they started to diversify themselves, that was the first thing they started selling off. So as I started growing my company and stuff, I found out that the biggest thing was to get great salespeople. And so I had a brother that just came off on a mission. He said, "Man, I had some good missionaries," and he told me about them. He was out of in Provo, Utah. And so I came back from Grand Junction to Price for a while, and then eventually came into Price, Utah. And I thought, I'll get these missionaries and send them back by two, doing knocking on doors again. And the thing about those missionaries, they've been so conservative by not spending money. So some of my checks I'd give like $1,000 they'd made for 1 week. They'd quit for 3 weeks, spend the thing. And so the company would go up and go down. So finally, it took me a while to say the missionary program is not probably what you need. You need to have those long-time people that can sell Yellow Pages. Some of the phone companies, what I noticed from some of their old guys, though, I call them the old hats they would start at 5 o'clock every day. Back when I was in books in Ohio, they would meet at the coffee shop at 5 o'clock. They'd all have breakfast together, and they'd go work. They'd come back and they'd start the 5 o'clock evening thing where they go to where they have the bar and everything else. They'd drink till 10, 11 o'clock at night and go to bed. And this is a ritual for them every day. And the trouble was, they had nice cars, nice girlfriends and everything, but they never had money. They always had to borrow money from each other. But they made a ton of money. Statistics proves to me that a lot of times with people, money gets out of hand. And me, I hand for mouth for a lot of times. So if I got money, then I was very careful. I'd put $1 out of my pocket and would let pennies go out at a time. And so that's one of the things I learned. But eventually, as my company started growing, whatever. I started running one ad. Let me tell you this one ad I used to run it, and I ran it all over. And I did phone books in 32 states across the United States at one time. It doesn't matter if there's somebody in New York, if you get the right salesperson, and I kept looking for them. So I put it out, and I have openings for 3 sharp individuals to sell Yellow Pages, $55,000 to $60,000 a year if possible. High ego, money motivators. If you're still self-started, give me a call. And I'd meet most of these people. There'd be like 100 people show up for a interview at one of these hotels, and I'd meet just in the lobby, and I'd spend 3 minutes with them. If you have a high ego, and if you're motivated and you can travel a little bit, then come and talk to me. If not, don't waste your time. And I'd start out, so I have 100 people, 50 would show up for the interview. After the first day on the interview, you'd go down to 25. I'd start the training, it would last a week, and out of that 25, I'd end up with 3. Okay. I'd do that over and over again. Now, I do that 100 times, I get what I call a $1 million writer. Steve is a $100 writer. If I'd had Steve in there, I had about 10 guys. They could write $100 million. They could write $1 million within a short period of time. They were experts. They had no problems with their cancellation stuff. Some of the other guys, I think, man, they're sweet. He's good looking and everything else. He couldn't give an ad away if he wanted to. If he did, he still have it. And so you have quite a bit of cancellation. Those $1 million writers, very few cancellation, but they have high egos. You got to maintain it. And so I did that. And once I did it, I knew how to separate them. Some of them could work together. Most of the times they couldn't work together. But I'd put them over in the area, and so as my company started growing and stuff, that's why I kept expanding. And so end game with the phone directories company, I had about 1,000 employees. And for there, we jumped into Canada, and we became the largest independent publisher in Canada. And during that period of time, the phone company started coming buying in independents. Well, they looked at me and they said, man, I'm scattered from Alaska all over the country. So they started buying these large companies that was just basically doing large metropolitan books. So I was the last one that they actually bought out of the independents. And out of that independence, then I took more money off the table than anybody did.
Now, that story seems very kind of up and to the right. Like it wasn't always good, though. You talked in your book about kind of the difficult times of running that business. And I think anytime you get a business of that scale, it's not always sunshine and roses. Can you talk about kind of some of the ups and downs of running that business and getting it to that scale?
Well, first thing I did, I used to try to do the whole thing myself, and as I interview these salesmen, I'm in my 3-piece suit, I get them into various part of the company, whether they're salespeople or if I'd interview for a secretary, first thing I'd ask them, how fast can you type? I'd say maybe we're only paying the secretary, the receptionist, maybe we're paying her $5 an hour. But if you can type 150 words a minute, you can make $15 an hour. A lot of people come in and say, man, I can type that fast. And we'd give them a type test and say, you can't be a receptionist. You're too good for that. We'd put them over there. And so that's why we built off from that. It took me a while to learn how to do that. And as I got up there, I tried to do the books. I'm not a numbers guy. I mean, I still have a tough time today to read balance statements and stuff. But I'm the type of guy, I can hit the tires on a car. I can make money every day. I know how to do that. Being a poor boy, I can still get good things out of a dumpster and things like that. So, but anyway, I knew how to do that, but it took me a long time to build the right crew. Because when I first started out, I picked friends and stuff like that. And then friends just got me in trouble, because they wanted to party and whatever like that, and they just couldn't do it. And so I'd get all these misfits and put them together and make a great team. And I see that in athletics and, they come together and become a team, you become very, very good. And a lot of times you come together as friends, you have a clique situation, and most of the times during hard times, you'll fail real fast.
And so you sell the business for a boatload of money, to put it lightly, I think. And I remember at the Urban Land Institute event that you spoke at with Michael Bingham, uh, you said, I could either wake up every morning, refresh my bank account and see how rich I am, or I could do what I love doing, helping young entrepreneurs succeed. And there have been dozens of companies that you've helped along the way, Steve being one of them. Can you talk a little bit about how you think about helping young entrepreneurs and why you don't just want to, sit on a beach somewhere?
And I talked about, when I was like trained these salesmen, they made a lot of money. And I had one girl that worked for me, and she'd make $15,000 a week. And most of the time she had to come in and have a draw during the course of the week. It's not the money you make. You have to learn this, And I'd gone to several Inc. conferences I went to, and one of the Inc. conferences that I went to is Dr. Dees was talking there, and he said, one thing about it, we try to grow these entrepreneurs to prime situation. He said the first thing we have to do is come in and probably help the entrepreneur get a divorce from his wife. That kind of happened with me too. And my biggest thing in life is you can make a lot of money. First thing in life is, how do you increase your net worth? Every day I think, how do I increase my net worth? That's where you really make the money. And if you think about net worth instead of how much money you're making, it changes your life. There's a way to increase your net worth. There's rules to that. And life there's different rules. And if you play these rules, you can make a lot of money and spend a lot of money. Or you increase your net worth. And if you get around those people that know how to net worth, one of the great books out there is to read is a millionaire next door. And I've read a lot of books, been to a lot of seminars, and I learned from those people. Most of the time, the millionaire next door, you don't know he's a millionaire. He's a humble type guy. He lives in average neighborhoods.
Drives an F-150.
They have money. And one of the things I started a barter club back at one time, and when I was in the Yellow Pages, and I'd see these guys, and after a while, I was traveling the circuit. I'm going to Orlando, Florida, once a week or once a month, and going to Santa Ana, California, because this is where these big thing was. And these guys would come in there with cufflinks on their arms tied to a briefcase. Yet they didn't have 50 cents in their pocket. They had millions of dollars in there with trade items, but they didn't have any cash available to buy lunch and stuff like that. And so once you found that kind of individual, it's easy to trade with them, And there'd be times I'd go to one of these trade organizations, and I'd start out with one item, and I'd trade it off 10 times during the period of that night. And I took myself from there to whatever. And after a while, it got to the point, it's not if I need it, it's just I try to better myself. All this different net worth that I was gathered up. And trouble is, you got to be careful as you get this net worth. As you get too much, you become like a hoarder, And I found out after that, if you're giving away the right stuff for different deals, your net worth actually really increases, and that's one of the laws of that he talks about, so that as we started making money and stuff like that, and when I sold the phone directories company, then we set up a foundation. Now statistics doesn't lie, so one of the things I put $5 million away for my grandkids to go to education. Only half of them would get an education. I started putting rules and saying, you got to get a C, give you 4 years, just for books and tuition and all that. I'm not going to give you money for expenses like that. Well, most of them, some of the guys, even though they're flunking out of school and everything like that because they're not saving enough money and whatever. Anyway, so after a period of time, then there's all these companies we started investing with, we started making foundation of grants available for their education. And once I started doing that, money and employees that came from that, where companies continue to grow with the new entity we're in right now.
Mark, I have a question or two regarding your net worth.
Okay.
You and I true up every year as to how much you make every year. You give me an accounting of how much you make. You say it in a way that would be similar to a low dollar amount, but you're still super competitive with yourself year over year. And in the same breath, as you talking about hundreds of millions of dollars that you have amassed over your life, your passion in life is garage sale shopping and dumpster diving. Now, people don't believe me when I say I've been in a dumpster with you. And people don't believe me when I say I've been garage sale shopping with you. And people don't believe me that you have bought dresses for individuals that work at Edge Homes and given them to them as gifts. Will you explain how you reconcile wealth with frugality?
First thing I have to say to myself, I can get anything I want. Then I have to tell myself, do you really want it? It's not if, it's when. That's what's my personality. In sales, I learned that there's two ways to beat an opponent. And I did it in athletics too. You can do it physically. Or if you use the other hand, if you help them beat themselves by get some metal in their brain, you don't have to use much physical power. Here's what I know about, because I hate wastage. Man, I'm the most conservative son of a bitch you've ever seen. I can tell you that. Yet, I'll pick up a penny or anything. I cannot step across a penny or a quarter on the thing where I'm walking through the airport or anything like that. At this point in time, a lot of times I have to call my wife. I can't bend down that low. Can you come back pick this penny up? Because I will not move. I just hate that kind of wastage. So I'm not frugal with that type of thing. There's a fellow that he was just becoming a grandpa. He worked for me, and he's a high prestige guy. And I said, the best place to park is over here by the dumpster. And how can you park by that? Because I check the dumpster out every day. Well, how come you do that? Because it lives in a neighborhood right there where all these people throw stuff away. And so there was a toy that was sitting in there. It was a perfect little toy. And he says, I don't want to be a grandpa. I said, yeah, but you need to get this toy. The kid just got born as a little girl. And he says, well, I'm not ready to be a grandpa. Anyway, he told me the other day, he said, my second grandkid is being born. And that first grandkid, that's the best toy she ever had. So now let me go back a little bit and talk about statistics and stuff a little bit. Somebody said, well, when I sold the phone directories company, I had what they call a 5% club. And if they stayed with me, I told them, if I ever exit the company, you'll be part of this 5% company. So there's like 35 people at that point in time who was on this 5% club. But 10 of them at the point would make over $1 million. And my president at the time, he made $10 million. And so I give it out to him. Everyone lost it within 3 years except one. I said, why in the hell did they do it? Statistic proves that happens. I've seen it in the athletic people goes in professional stuff. They make millions of dollars. Next thing they're doing, they're taking bankruptcy and stuff like that. And so there's rules in life, and I think you got to set your goal and say, hey, this is what I want to do in life. Here's what I know. We come to this old world with nothing. We'll leave with nothing. Everybody would like to think they take their sons or daughters and say, hey, I want to take this company and turn it over to you. The trouble is, they didn't put every brick in place. Everything doesn't stay the same forever. You go back to IBM, it might stay a couple of generations, but it don't stay the same. It'll go back to zero. Why? First, people just got to learn. I mean, we're in the United States right now. It's in a terrible situation because we've got these youth coming up. They don't know what happened yesterday or years before. They haven't had those experiences. And if you haven't had those experiences, you can't handle them. And so you have a lot of rebellion and stuff like that because you get groups and breaks off. So I found out, it took me years and years to make the first $1 million in the phone directories company. I haven't changed my life one ideal. My wife got me a vehicle I really didn't need, but I kind of got forced into that. There's another story behind that. But I've got everything I wanted anyway, So time you pay your whatever, if you're a religious boy, I think you should pay your tithing, and you got to pay your taxes and all that type of thing. And if you're in business, you got to reinvest that type of money. And time you make a reinvestment, it takes 3 to 5 years to grow it up. And so being in company we are is to try to teach these people. And so we look for companies out there that has got a pretty good organization. And if they want to learn a little bit, we'll get somebody on their board and have them grow. And we'll stay in between 5 and 7 years, then we exit. And that's where you make your money, is when you exit. So is the timing right on times? And sometimes the company's making tons of money. Well, there's rules that everything doesn't stay the same forever. Our economy goes ups and downs, ups and downs. So the best time to have a whole bunch of money is when the economy goes down. You have cash at that point in time. You're in a yard sale situation. That's why I love yard sales. I mean, I've seen so many yard sales. So to hit 100 yard sales, you'll hit one gin. Here's what you have. Mom and dad just died. Kids have all moved away, so they come back to settle the estate and everything else. So they're giving everything away that mom and dad worked forever. And there's stuff on the thing, on their shelves and stuff like that. They're selling for pennies. And I've seen some guys say, I want $10 for that. I said, I'll give you $1. Okay, whatever. And yet mom and dad might have worked for a year to get that particular item. What they want to do is just sell the house, get the crash fixed, and get back their own life. That's how you make your money, is look for those things. It's a numbers game. Not being good at numbers, I know statistics. I have to hit those yard sales. Some are good, some are bad. Dumpsters, I found some good stuff. I've lived out of a dumpster before. I tell people I can live out of a dumpster and gain weight, if I want to do that, so. And there's a lot of stories about that. So,
Marc Bingham quote: "Every company is built to
sell. If you think you're saying you're going to keep it forever, you're crazy. When you start something, your objective, that thing, is to sell it. Now, you hope you don't have to sell it on the down thing because you're giving it away. Yet I see the lifestyles of some of these people big, and some of those people at that point in time. I'm the type of person, I'll make a decision right now, right, wrong, or not, and I'll try to work with it. When you start on it, can't make a decision, you prolong it, and things change as you move along. You got to make decisions, and that you'll find out the great leaders will make a quick decision and live with it, right or wrong or whatever, and that. But if you start pondering, second guess yourself and say, what about this and what about that, or whatever. So
I want to take a step back and go back to when you two met.
Okay.
Steve has expressed to me the impact that you've had on his life, obviously, but how did that relationship get started?
Well, Steve's got a personality that I just love. You just can't help him. He had a couple of partners, and they were good people. And that's what I look at some of these companies I look at. They've got some great people. One of the things that Jim Collins' book, he talks about good to great. To be a great person, and if you're a good person, you're almost in danger of being great. Sometimes you got to give that good up to become a great person. That's the whole thing. How do you become great? And there's rules how to become great. So when I met Steve, he's got a personality. I heard his podcast the other day. I thought, man, this guy is smooth. Here's what I know about life, That leader, if you get the right person and say, hey, we're going to walk on this railroad track. I bet I can walk 100 yards. And pretty soon you'll fall off. I guarantee you. I don't know if as a kid you've ever walked on a railroad track. You walked a ways, but you'll fall off. You can find the right guy to reach across the railroad track and hold hands. You two can walk forever. And it's taken me a long time to get my company. I've got people right now. I don't want the numbers again. But, I only got 9 in the office. But out of that 9, we hold hands, But it took a long time. I've had some of them CFO guys. They're so smart. And so but half the time they're thieves. Here's one of the things. Don't lie to me. Don't cheat to me. Because if you want something, ask it, and I'll give it to you. I don't care if it's $1 million. Just ask me, I'll give it to you. Because I can make money. That's not a problem. Don't steal it from me. Just ask me. Because don't lie to me and don't steal from me. I'm a stickler at that. And I've had some of those guys that I've had really close friends and really find out the true meaning. They're really thieves down deep. We're all different there at the office. I mean, I wouldn't pick any of them as me to be a friend. I look at Steve on the other hand. I love Steve. Steve's at a point in his life right now that does he want to be good or does he have to be great? He has to determine that. He's a great guy. He's probably got tons of money and whatever like that. And he's gone through a lot of the same situation I have. Here's what I know about these leaders. They have a lot of testosterone. Testosterone is great. You got to manage it. It gets us in trouble. Both Steve and I have probably been in trouble, but that testosterone gives us the drive we have.
I have a question for Mark that I've never asked because it is painful, maybe, to talk about. When we parted ways, it was 100% Mark and Debbie Bingham saying, it's time, which we respected. And it wasn't as if Mark had not prepared Edge for his departure, because there wasn't a week that went by that Mark reminded Gordy and I that we were replaceable. And that we were friends, but we were replaceable. And the 5 years. Mark played a song for Gordy and I by Tim McGraw, Remember Me, and then cried. I want to know how Mark has stayed unemotional and made good business decisions when it hurts, because I know it does, when it hurts to say goodbye to organizations and companies that you have put together brick by brick, and then move on.
Okay, here's what I know. I don't know if you heard the story about the guy grabbed this bird and puts it in his hand. He turns to this person and says, is that bird alive or is it dead? That person that has their hands on that bird is the one that can determine whether it's alive or dead. It's probably alive right now. And if his guy says it's dead, he'll open his hand and let it go. Comes a point in time as these people grow, and it's tough. It's damn tough, I can tell you that. I mean, I love these guys that are there. And I trimmed it down to the point that they were ready for the next thing. And they didn't need me to have them in my hand like this. They didn't. I played them one other song about that thing. Don't ever let it happen again. Even if I'm gone, continue on. Play it again. Do it again. Did you learn from me? Take some of that stuff from me and do it in your own life. Here's what I know about the book. I produced about 8,000 copies of that book.
Got it right here.
Right? You know what? Statistics says less than 100 of them has read it and understand it and trying to pray through the principles. Statistics proves to that. Statistics doesn't lie. I can tell you that. I could give all my money to the kids and like that. They drop it anyway. I may as well give them guns or load it and say, put it in your head and see how much play Russian roulette or give them drugs and everything. If they don't know how to handle it, they can never get there. All I did was offer them, guys, do it. Don't let me down. You made a lot of money, and I made a lot of money off of you. It's okay to make a lot of money. Don't let that become your God. There's more things in life than just making money. I'm a stickler for that. I got a lot of friends. I got a few friends that I count on one hand that I can really trust. It would be difficult at this point in time if I went to Steve, because I don't want what Steve got. I give Steve. I give him the opportunity. That's all a person wants, to the opportunity. But if I ask him one question, he'd fight with himself, because that is getting past that and say, do I really want to be good or do I want to be great? that he has to determine that. I can't change people. Only person you can change is yourself. I can suggest and stuff, but suggestion becomes a statistics again. Only a short number of people could do it. If you're a missionary, you can knock on enough doors. If you're a 10% closer, you get 10%. Same way. It's just a numbers game.
So
but I think you give opportunity. And that's the whole thing, is these opportunities. We look at these companies, and the thinking about it, the opportunities, well, you took this company, did that, so that's why they keep coming to us. And that's why we make the money we do, So this last little point, I feel like a bastard calf right now in life because I made partners out of the 3 guys I've got in there. And this fellow came in last night, I would have made a decision in short order. And I said, I can't make the decision because I got partners now. They're in my position right here. It's see up to them. I don't need them. I could walk away tomorrow if I wanted to, but I don't want to do that, I got enough over here if I need to survive. Statistics says, maybe if I got that many or that many more, statistics says they'll be saying he looks natural if they just get that smile off his face and close the lid. So.
Mark refers to me as not being great, which I appreciate, because as I talked last week, Marc Bingham has the ability to come into somebody's house and cut the roof off with a chainsaw and say the artificial ceiling that you have on your soul is something that somebody else put there. And I'm letting you know you have the ability to be greater than what your school teacher, what your pastor told you, what your mentor told you. Like, you are greater than that. And if nothing else, what Mark has done for young entrepreneurs is said, remove the lid. Like I did. Like Mark just admitted, it took him 40 years to get to where he was at. And now I don't think Mark has a ceiling. I don't think Mark views the world that way. And Mark would look at somebody not in dollars, but on what their potential is. And Mark sees greater potential in people and companies, which is a gift that he has. And then whatever his mother instilled in him as a child, he's fearless. He's a badass. He just, like, in the face of adversity, Mark will go buy companies when others are running and hiding underneath their desk calling for mom.
Here's what I know. If all those guys have made a lot of money, if I could get one son of a bitch to do what I've done, you'll change this world. I've given away real close to $100 million right now. Just give it away. I could have kept it for myself, Would have done it. Didn't do a damn bit of good. I mean, I've got enough to live on right now.
You need to give away more, Mark. You know that.
And here's the end result. It will all be given away.
That's right.
It'll all be going away. And here's what I worry about. The people I got, the 9 people I got on my board, because here's three things I give away for. I'm a wildlife guy, and I spend a lot of money. I give a lot of money for wildlife.
Mark, will you define wildlife? That has a different connotation.
Well, in the beginning, I went both ways.
Okay.
But
This is
that got us both in trouble.
Conservation.
Wildlife conservation.
Wildlife conservation.
Conservation. The other thing is that I've come down with quite a few health problems, and so I give away for medical.
So I want to touch on that because I was
the other
rereading
thing is that is important is education. Now, they can take everything. They take your money away. They take your car away, your wife away, your kids away, everything else. One thing they can't take away from you is your education. What you do with it depends on you. So that's why we give this last year. I think we give 135 scholarships away. Various people. I don't even know who they were, but out of that. But if I look at those, what I call my $1 million riders, if I could have one person do what I've done, the closest one would probably be Steve. Steve still looks at me, I can tell you this, with colored glasses. I don't want what Steve wants. I want him to become that great person because you know what? He has ability. If we look at our life, there's a lot of similarities that we have between the two of us.
So you've had this very, very successful career, obviously. Alongside you this whole time was Debbie. And Debbie spoke briefly at that Urban Land Institute event. And from what she said, she was obviously very brilliant. Can you speak about Debbie and how she helped and supported you along the way?
Well, I had some problems back there. Let me go back a little bit. When I was in the phone directors company, I'm having, you know, I'm very conservative on the ex is at that point in time and saying, well, the boys need a new truck and everything like that. And started giving them everything else. So I remember that one of the guys came in as doing our taxes. And we got in a tough point at that time. We had a lawsuit and we had to come up with some money. And the wife said, I've got that in a drawer. And she's the one that opens the mail and stuff like that. So anyway, they're doing my taxes and they said, well, you signed a joint tax return. The government finds out that, you both go to jail. I said, this son of a bitch will not go to jail. And that started having some problems. I said, well, we can do this. We can do it. No, that's not my belief. There's rules you got to follow in business or life and everything like that. And it started, we kind of got separated a little bit. And it led one thing to the other. Money becomes a god for a lot of people, to me. You haven't got money 2 cents to buy lunch that day, you buck it up and you'll find it the next day and be able to go out and splurge. So that started a lot of problems. And so you just got to be careful who you dance with too. I took a lot of vows back in those early days, and I kept saying it's my fault. It's my fault. I'm the leader of the family. Why can't I do this? Why can't I change this person? Whatever. You can't change people. You cannot change people. One of Debbie, on the other hand, now. I had about 5 women, probably, as they found out that I'm having trouble in Oklahoma City, started paying attention. Here's what I know about women. Women are attracted to money and power. I didn't know I had either one. I mean, I had enough to whatever, but I was just spending a lot of it. And anyway, Debbie was one of those. So anyway, the others, I had some number 10s, and you'd kill for it or get close to them. I won't go into detail that way. Here's what I know about Debbie. She had a lot of the same characteristics. I can get her in a teepee tent. We can be on the mountain and swim in the cold creek. Or else I can dress her up and we can be both going to the ball in 3-piece suits and evening gowns and everything else. It fit my level. Now, Debbie is a damn banker. They're all bankers or CPAs that work for me. They're completely different, my personality. I drive them nuts. In return, they kind of drive me nuts. So a lot of times I'm teasing or whatever, and I keep telling her, you're the meanest girl I ever had. You're the only one that kicks my ass at least 3 times a day. Sometimes I have to instigate her to do it because I know she's kicking my ass. She still loves me, that type of thing. But she's a great helpmate. She is so smart on something. She handles people better than I do. I mean, I'm the type of guy, if you're not the right guy, let's get you out of here right quick and get you in the workplace where you can be liked, And I can do it, but I'd rather take a beating. I'm really a pleaser. If you look at my personality, I'm definitely a pleaser. I can tell if you're the wrong guy. I can tell this guy that came in last night, he's got 3 guys there. I'd make a decision right now. And it hurt a little bit, but we'd build it back up. Because would I like to do it? Well, Debbie and Michael at the office could do it in a heartbeat. And it just happens to be that Steve and I are out of town fishing that day or riding horseback, because that's a good opportune time for me to be out of town and have them do the job. They're good at that. I don't know if that makes sense to you. It makes sense in my mind because I'm being a pleaser as I am. A lot of people think I'm a cruel person. Maybe I am to some degree because I hate worthless things. If it's the wrong thing, I'm a little bit different that way. So, but down deep, I have a lot of compassion for people if they got the potential. If you had the potential, if there's a guy right now that wanted to be better, that I knew if they was in Boston or New York and he's looking for me and I knew he could be there, I'm on the next plane there to help him, even though it won't help me. Where is that person that can change the world?
I want to bring this home. You've obviously had again, a lot of success in your career. You could just be on a beach somewhere on the nicest house that anybody could ever afford. What are you excited about over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years? What are you looking forward to?
Well, I hate to see what kind of coffin they're going to pick out for me. To me, it doesn't matter. But, the twilight of my life at this point in time is, I hope my company, the people I've got set up there now, that they'll grow at this rate. And I got a real large company right now. I think the guy, I made contact with him the other day. He came to town, and I told Michael, I said, we are so good at this way, and he's so good at that way, but he's a little bit hesitant. If we could put that together, it would make a great company, because 1 + 1, we could make 3. I don't know if it can come to me. To me, it's just another deal. And so if I can do something like that, I'd love to do that. Does it help me in my life? Personally, not. I just have the satisfaction, the same satisfaction. I know that I can make him great. I'll have a smile on my grave site forever if I do. And I don't know if he wants that, but he's probably the closest one that I've had. That's why I love Steve. He don't trust me. I tell you that. He probably don't, down deep, he probably doesn't trust me. Got a lot of respect for me. I don't know if he trusts me. I don't want what Steve wants. I want his potential, what he can become. That's what I want.
Could you ask Mark for me what great is in his mind?
What is great in your mind?
I think the great in my mind is, here's what I know. I've heard that before. I think the greatest person, the greatest dad, is that one that stoops to help a child. You can see somebody down and people walk past them, but to reach down and help that person up, it's difficult for a lot of people.
Amen.
I love Steve to death. And I sometimes you just can't take that overcloud what's in these different plans. He had some partners, that, man, they are good people. They are good people. I love the one guy, but, he wanted to play golf half the time, and he didn't work as a team we needed. He's more of a singular type guy, and it's okay. It's wrong. That's his life. And, it's...
What'd you do with that person, Mark?
Well, we still invest for him and that type of thing, but he don't come around much anymore. But, I love him. I had a great dog, I tell you that. Dog liked me better than it liked him.
Yeah.
This
has been a blast. Thanks for coming on.
Well, and I'm the kind of guy that hits these things. Debbie says, you didn't go down here and bring it up every time your story, that's, anyway, I know I bounce and whatever, and my brain goes too fast from my body, I guess.
One last question that I've never been able to get out of Mark. Would you mind asking him what his allowance is from Debbie every week?
What is it?
Well,
he talks about it a lot. Debbie gave me my allowance. We can go out to lunch. Debbie gave me my allowance. We can go look at this. If he doesn't have money in his pocket, he won't go to the dollar store with me. So there's a limited amount of cash flow that Marc Bingham is allotted weekly.
Here's why, Debbie, because we went together 9 years before we got married. I said, I've got to have 25 or I got to have 100,000. You're a banker, figure it out. And she did. Sometimes she had to take some of the assets or whatever, but somehow she'd get that 100,000. That was her duty type thing. I wouldn't let her down. I can tell you, if I get that money from you, if there's only way if I owe you something, I'll go to hell before I will not pay you back. That will drive me frickin' nuts. I'm not going to walk across the street, because I've had people owe me many times, and I see them, they see me, and all of a sudden they're across the street. Here's what I know, because my printer one time, I owed him almost $7 million, and I'm overdrawn at that point in time. And I had, my print bill at that time was probably about $24 million a year, and I'm way behind. The brothers said, we're not doing any more printing for me. I went to the one guy and I said, very close, like Steve and I was. I said, I've never let you down. I've got one outlet. If I have to, I don't want to, but I will. I will not let you down. It took me 1 year, and he was a good baseball player. He's an older guy, and they went to Florida. I guess he's older. They have a tournament down there, and they won the World Series. And I happened to be in Louisville, and so I got a bat. The Louisville Slugger right there. That's where they make these bats. And I got his name, and I had his name put on the bat because I knew I was getting close to getting him paid off, get that debt paid off. Anyway, I called all the brothers. There was 8 brothers and 1 sister. We had lunch at the print shop. I said, I want to give this prize to something I got. A year ago, I was $7 million in debt to you. And I got a check. First, I want to give you this check. It's a down payment. It's $100,000 for the next print bill, even though you haven't even started. Here's the next print bill. But I want to give this bat for a fellow because he's got in the home world, won the World Series for the old man in Florida 1 year, but he kind of got close a couple of times. I said, I want to give this because he allowed me to hit a home run. I don't want to give this bat to him. The brothers didn't even know he had obligated us because he kept sneaking stuff out for me, get enough to get my bills paid out. Anyway, to have that kind of person that have the faith in you, you're either crazy or you just believe in him. That's the whole thing. And he believed in me.
We didn't get the allowance.
My allowance now.
His allowance. See, this has been for 15 years. What's your allowance, Mr. Bingham?
Well, so I got a credit card. I get money in the bank. I'll have to call her and say, what in the hell's a PIN number? That's if I want to get money. It's too pain in the ass for me. She said, I'll just put money in your sock drawer. She says, so she puts $200 in my sock drawer every year. So now I'm on Social Security now. I just see the other day I got a 3.2% increase.
Congrats.
So I always tease her and say, I know I don't get the increase because that might $200 has stayed there forever. So that's why I always tease Debbie and say, hey, I know you're cheating me because I don't know where the money is. She said, well, I need an extra $100 more because I got to get nails and eyelashes. I think it's a waste of time and everything else.
$200 in the sock drawer it is.
$200. Yeah. Finally figured it out.
Mystery solved.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, guys. It's been awesome.
Thank you, Tanner.
Give this bat to him. The brothers didn't even know he had obligated us because he kept sneaking stuff out for me, get enough to get my bills paid out. Anyway, to have that kind of person that have the faith in you, you're either crazy or you just believe in him. That's the whole thing. And he believed in me.
We didn't get the allowance.
My allowance now.
His allowance. See, this has been for 15 years. What's your allowance, Mr. Bingham?
Well, so I got a credit card. I get money in the bank. I'll have to call her and say, what in the hell's a PIN number? That's if I want to get money. It's too pain in the ass for me. She said, I'll just put money in your sock drawer. She says, so she puts $200 in my sock drawer every year. So now I'm on Social Security now. I just see the other day I got a 3.2% increase.
Congrats.
So I always tease her and say, I know I don't get the increase because that might $200 has stayed there forever. So that's why I always tease Debbie and say, hey, I know you're cheating me because I don't know where the money is. She said, well, I need an extra $100 more because I got to get nails and eyelashes. I think it's a waste of time and everything else.
$200 in the sock drawer it is.
$200.
Yeah.
Finally figured it out.
Mystery solved.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, guys. It's been awesome.
Thank you, Tanner.